Hey yo, welcome to the Godcast.
I hope y'all are buckled up because things are about to get weird.
I don't understand why you chose me.
You want to change the world, son. So do I.
Where are we at in terms of history on the timeline? Where are we exactly? I'm just trying to uncover the truth and bring forth what I can see as the truth. The Bible seemed to be predicting more things than any other conspiracy theory type information. Look, one thing's for certain, that there is so much power in the name of Jesus Christ. That I know for sure.
Welcome to Godcast.
Welcome to Godcast.
The Goodness Over Darkness.
The Goodness Over Darkness podcast.
Here is your host.
Here's your host, Emmanuel Kingman.
Emmanuel Kingman.
Welcome to the light.
Welcome to the light.
Welcome to the light.
It's showtime. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I am your host, Emmanuel Kingman, and with me is my beautiful, lovely partner who is messing things up over there, Mimi.
Hello.
Hello, my love. How are you?
How many intros in are we today?
This is number 5 today.
Yeah.
Plus, I was a guest on another episode, another podcast.
Yes.
And I've been on the
Busy
computer
day for you.
doing so many different things, advertisements for the upcoming roundtable. I was having to edit together intros and videos. You see my green screen's messing up right now. I don't know why. I have to get more clips, I guess, to tighten this thing up. But on today's episode, we had on special guest Josh Monday from the Josh Monday Christian and Conspiracy. He's one half of the co-host of Josh Monday Christian and Conspiracy. It is a great podcast. Him and his brother do an excellent job, and it's one of the only podcasts that I've been listening to as of late. I've been really pushing everything else to the side. It just hasn't been feeling right listening to certain things. So I've been, letting go of all of the other things, and his podcast is one of the ones that stayed around, and they do a really good job of it. Not only is it informative and it's centered around God, but it's a really entertaining podcast. So I suggest you all go listen to it. And Josh is a Christian rapper as well. He makes good music. I like several of his songs, as we talk about in the episode. I couldn't play anything through like I did for Ark because I don't have the same setup any longer. It would have been a much bigger hassle to get things rolling and with my new setup, so I just didn't bother doing it.
But the clap track was in this time.
And the clap track was in, yes. So, I'm glad I could get that back in, even though I edited it in all the other episodes. Edited it in the past episodes. I was finally able to get up and running again for this one, so that's a good thing. And on this episode, Josh broke down his story for us. He was, he's former military man. He is a Christian. He goes to church all the time. He's a father, a husband, and he's a guy trying to do the right thing, really. What's your take from the episode?
Oh man, you're coming right at me, huh?
Yeah, well, you were listening.
I was.
You didn't participate all that much, but you were there.
I can't believe he just has 2 little ones and another little one on the way. That's mentally made me tired immediately.
Yeah, well,
For him. I was tired for him and his wife.
well, hey, they seem to be very youthful and active.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so
You get it done when you're young. It is a whole lot easier. I look back and I'm glad that I had them as young as I did.
yeah, me
Because
too.
I had the energy to run after them as much as I did.
Yeah, well, not that I would be against having children, but obviously we couldn't now. But having a 12-year-old now as the person that I am and have become, and the person she's seen me become. She's seen me make my transformation. She's the only one who's been there the entirety of my transformation. And she didn't know how dark I was. Nobody knew, but she would be the one who was closest. Maybe her mom would be the one who was closest. But even then, she had left me and gone to darker passages than I was at. So she's really seen the transformation, and she responds to me when I talk to her about these, the way that we handle ourselves and how to conduct yourself as a person. She gets it where someone without the experience wouldn't recognize it, and I give her tips and tricks on how she can control herself and get herself in a better position, and she does it. And it's night and day from who she was last year to who she is this year. And I attribute that to God showing her my transformation. Now it's been beautiful. So yeah, we talked a lot about Josh's life and his podcast, and just what his thoughts are on the current day climate, with all the craziness that's happening in the world. And it was a really good time. I'm glad I got to meet him.
Experience with Death Row Records.
That was a real.
It was not a shocker to me.
What, that they would do that?
Not a shocker at all. I mean, knowing what we know now, didn't surprise me. I almost was waiting for that. I was waiting for that foot to drop. Like, okay, well, if this is a story, then something had to have happened. So
I wasn't expecting it to be that. I thought it was going to be
kinda
something a little bit different.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, which stinks, but
You study conspiracy theories, and one of the first things that pops up is Hollywood, and how actresses and actors, how they get their first gig is usually by doing something along the lines that he talks about. But he didn't do it, and then he didn't sign with Death Row Records. So, it all works out.
Blessing in itself there.
Yeah, it all works out the way God wants it to, the way that it's planned, for whatever reason we can't know in the moment. But
yeah, and had he had a different upbringing from what he had told us,
right,
I think he may have maybe fallen for it.
Yeah, and that's interesting that to have a father who's telling you about conspiracy theories and Jesus 30 years ago, that he's talking about this to his
handing
kids.
you a Bible, yeah.
Yeah, and a J, handing you a Bible and a J, and telling you about the Illuminati. That's I'm not that he was handing the kids the J, but that he would smoke a J, as Josh was saying. Smoke a little bit of weed and talk about the Illuminati, exposing them, and talk about Jesus.
Tell his kids the truth.
Yeah, so it's interesting how we're all brought up, and all the things that we go through and the experiences that we have, and no one's experience is better than anyone else's or anything.
Each individual
it's very unique.
Is truly made for that individual. Like you said,
it's special.
It's unique, and it doesn't make sense until it does.
Yeah, it's so right. Yeah, so this is a really fun episode, and you guys should really go check out his podcast. You should really, I can't even talk today. I've been talking so much.
You talk so much. Thank you guys for wearing them out today.
Yeah. So now we'll go watch something.
Yeah, we won't talk after this. We'll watch a movie.
Yeah, we'll fall asleep on the couch. Yeah, so anyway, go check out all Josh's stuff. Check out his music. Check out his YouTube. Check out his podcast. And if you feel so inclined, you can hit like, subscribe, and rate and review my podcast on wherever you're listening to it at. You can share it around. That always helps, sharing it. And you can donate. You can go to the website and donate if you would like. This, I don't really care too much about the money, but it has run me dry a bit, buying all the different equipment at times. It can get a little bit expensive, and I just spent a lot of money on upgrading these mics. So, I mean, I wanted to do it at the end of the day, and that's all that really matters. I wanted my voice to be clear and concise, and I wanted to tell the universe, upgrade me. I'm ready for it. Let's do it. So that's why I did it. But if you want to help me out, you can do that. Make sure you stay tuned while you write more stuff over there.
Yes, for later when we do our episode,
later.
Which we were going to try to squeeze in today, but
maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah, so we'll only have like 7 episodes before this one, or not before this one, but before the next one comes out. I'll have that many in my arsenal.
Of ours?
No,
Oh,
no,
Oh.
sitting there waiting to be uploaded.
right.
But all in due time, all in due time. I've been working my ass off, so I'm going to actually enjoy taking several days off in a row of not interviewing anybody because
Oh,
it was
when's
running
that?
me ragged. This week, I'm going to probably not do any till Friday.
We
so.
have to, like I said earlier, we need to go over our calendars to make sure they don't overlap here. I'd like to have some days off together.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right. So without further ado, or make sure you stay tuned at the end of the episode for a preview of the next episode. And without further ado, here is Josh Monday. Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I have on a guest who is a Christian rapper, a father, a husband, and a podcast host. He turned away from God in his younger days, but has since returned to Christ and is using his musical talents to bring people to God. He co-hosts the podcast Josh Monday's Christian and Conspiracy. Everybody, welcome Josh Monday to the show.
How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for having me, brother. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy to have you on. I listen to your podcast all the time, and it's an awesome podcast. You and your brother do a great job on there. You guys have some good banter. You have some good guests and some really great topics, and you cover it in a way that not many people are doing. So thank you for all your work.
Oh man, thank you. Your show too, bro. I check your show out. I like I said, man, I think some of YouTube is kind of trying to hold us down and trying to hold your show down. And I feel like you should have a lot more people listening, bro. So I will share your show, and I really appreciate you listening to my show, bro. And you're doing the same thing, bro. You're bringing God into the mix with the Christian and conspiracy, dude. And as you know, the real truth is on everybody's nightstand, bro. It's the Holy Bible. You guys should be really looking into that.
It's the most real thing that I've come across when I do deep dives into things, and maybe I don't do it for extended periods of times, but I go deeply into something very quickly. And when I see that there's things that just don't add up, or that I see that things are adding up from multiple disciplines or coming to the same conclusion, then I'm like, oh, okay. Then this has to be more true than something that is only said one time, or maybe, it's coming from the same, when so many things from the Bible come together, it's like, oh, this is definitely the real deal.
Yes. Especially after 2019 hit, I think a lot of people are like, okay, Revelation is definitely making sense, man. We got the Great Reset. We got the one world currency coming. And then when you start studying these bloodlines, of Illuminati and the deeper bloodlines, and you start studying everything, you find out that it is a one world government, bro. They're like, all those people that are the world monarchy are on the top, and well, Satan's on top of that. You're finding out that the one world government is here. So that's what's good. It's real good for us to dig deep into that type of stuff and expose the evil and show the audience what's going on as much as we can, and then have guests on, you had Gary Wayne on and Jim, and that was a great show.
Oh yeah. You were on the round table. Yeah.
It was cool, man. That's Gary Wayne. I just had him on the show, bro. Like, that gentleman is on point. He was bringing up bloodlines I had no clue about, dude. I was like, I feel like I'm in kindergarten now, bro. In conspiracies. When I talk to him, I'm like, I got to get 20 more years of this, I guess, to even be on this level. So it's interesting.
Well, that's the thing, that you got there's only a couple guys that really know their stuff, but they really know it, the Bible and the conspiracy with the bloodlines,
Yes.
Gary Wayne being one of them. And when you can bring something like that into the picture, because there's people that have researched real deeply into secret societies, but never the Bible in conjunction with it. And
yes.
And they come up with the same information as the people who study the Bible very deeply in the bloodlines of that. So obviously there's something to it,
Yeah, I think two people that I would say, Gary Wayne and Fritz Springmeier. Right. He's another one, dude. If you guys, your audience could check out those two gentlemen, they will lead you on the right path, and they also have the answer, Jesus Christ. So they don't just lead you down a rabbit hole of like Illuminati bloodlines are running the world and all this different information, and then you're just stuck like, dang, what do we do now? I can't do anything. They actually have the answer, which is Jesus, and God, Father God in heaven. We have the answer, so it's awesome. It's like you don't just end up ending on a negative note, So I really appreciate their work. So
Yeah.
in the same boat as me, yeah.
So why don't you tell my audience a little bit about yourself? I mean, you're a Christian rapper. I like your music, especially the song that you have for your podcast. You know, that's
Kinds of things to come.
yeah. I download. I have it on my playlist. You know, I listen to it often. And "Keep Me
Thank
Away"
you.
is also another one I really like. So
Thank
how
you.
did you go down this route? Why don't you give us a little background about yourself?
Okay, so me, as far as my rap career, if we want to start there, I started rapping when I was 14. I used to smoke weed, hang out with my friends, and like I was listening to Cypress Hill, and I would just freestyle like to every single person I could meet. Like I would just be like, and anytime I went to like a party,
And how old are
like
you
when I was
now?
in high school. Now I'm 38, so it's been a
Okay.
while, man. I've been rapping for a long time. I just, what happens is you go in and out of rapping. It's like it's an art, and what happened is once I became Christian, and like I've been Christian like pretty much since I was young, but I just never followed it. My dad would teach us about conspiracies. He'd be smoking weed, telling me like, hey, Jesus is good. He's all about love. And then he'd be telling me about the Illuminati. I mean, that's how I was raised. So like I used to be like smoking weed. Thinking
That's an interesting
okay.
combination.
Yes, yeah. So he was that's how I was raised. My dad was like, God gave us all herb bearing seed, like in Genesis. So like, he was kind of bringing me up. So I'd be rapping. And then I got serious about it when I was like around 16 or 17. I got in the studio in LA, Los Angeles, and I was doing my thing, and nothing really happened. I was just making demos. It was harder back then to put your music out. You basically go in the studio, and then you have somebody I had a producer spending money on me to make the tracks because he believed in me. But I did that. And then when I was 18, I'll tell you about the story about death row. So when I was 18, I was at the Staples Center, and I was there with a bunch of friends. We were like in a box seat. One of my friends was, had some money. So his family did. So we're sitting in the box seat, and one of my friends were like, bro, look, Suge Knight's going down the escalator. And he was there with Left Eye. He was there with a few other of his artists. And so I was off the top while he was going down the escalator. I was freestyling to him. I was like, hey, I rap. He was like, well, then rap then. I was like, okay. I started freestyling to him. He's like, all right, well, come down. I was like, all right. So I went down, and he was talking to me, and he gave me a business card of his general manager at the time. And this sun is killing me, bro. Is it hard to see me, or is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay now. That's good right there.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, guys.
No
Anyway,
worries.
so he told me to freestyle for him. I rap for him, and then he ended up giving me a business card. And then I went to the studio, and one of his general managers came to see me rap. So I was like, cool. I had like a suitcase full of raps. I'm like trying to like grab my best ones that I can. And I was close to getting signed by them. So what he told me was, hey, the general manager was like, listen, man, after you get done at the studio, if you want, meet me at Hooters in Pasadena. So I was like, all right, cool. I was I was like ecstatic, like cool. So I drive my truck there, meet him there, and he's like, all right, so there's a party in Malibu. Do you want to go? I was like, okay. He's like, I've been drinking, and I have one of the breathalyzers, so I can't drive. So I was like, all right, I'll drive. So I'm in my little Ford Ranger truck, bro, driving up to Malibu, bro. So we hung out. He like let me use his chain. I was feeling like I was all cool, like down with the crew. Everybody's like kind of giving me these weird looks and stuff. I was like, all right, I don't know why, but it's all good. Some of the stars that were there, like there was like this, I don't know if I want to like put them on blast, but there was a few of them there, like Ray J, a couple other guys. And so I was feeling like I was on top of the world, bro. The dude was drinking.
That's awesome.
And I was like, hey, this is cool. I'm in Malibu. I'm from the high desert. Which
and you were what, 18,
city.
you said?
I was 18 at the time. So I'm over here like, man, this is awesome. Like I'm feeling like I'm getting, kind of vibing with this guy. I'm like, cool, man, maybe I can actually get signed with these guys. And he started drinking and talking to me. And as we're like kind of hanging out, he's telling me, hey, man, I don't think you should get with Death Row. They're kind of like, they're a street label. They're going to treat you like crap and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, so he kind of started taking a liking to me. So I'm like, cool. So he's like, hey, man, drop me off at my house. So we end up leaving. He's like super faded. I'm like, I'm not really drunk at all, but I'm still buzzed, and I'm driving him. And then I take him to his place, and it's like a nice place. He's like, hey, come inside. I'm like, cool. He's playing like Tupac. I'm like sitting there flowing for him, rapping. I'm like, man, I'm vibing pretty good. This is cool. So the dude's like, all right, man. Yeah, this is good. And like, I'm sitting like in his kitchen, And the dude like comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I know you have a girlfriend and all, but let me try to get this thing. He's like, I know you have a girlfriend and all, but I'm into guys too and girls. And I'm like, what? Oh my goodness. So this dude like leans over to kiss me. So I kind of ducked under. I was like, hey bro, I'm not really into that. And I'm like, I think I'm going to take off. So I ended up leaving. He's an older dude. Yeah. He's like in his 50s, but bro, you got to understand, dude, this is like one of the most gangster labels at the time. I had no idea that would even happen. I'm like 18. I have no idea how any of this stuff works, Wow, hopefully I don't get killed for saying this, but, anyways, so good thing we don't have that many views on YouTube yet. Yeah. Just kidding. So anyways, so I ended up taking off and I'm like, oh my goodness, man. Like, I feel like that's the moment, that I could have went and, sacrificed my integrity, my morals and everything to try to get signed. So I kind of got tested right there. Right. I left, but he kept in touch with me, but he was more on a business level where he was like, hey, Josh, I can help you get your demo off and stuff to other labels. But right now, this label is about to shut down. They have tax evasion, all these problems and stuff, which they did have at the time, So he was actually telling me truthful stuff. Never brought it back up to me in any way, but so I was like, all right, cool. That was it for that. My rap career kind of went cool, it was more like going on stage, rapping at clubs and parties and stuff like that, just smaller events. I never actually got it kicked off. So once I became a Christian about 8 years ago, where I was fully committed to Christ, that's when I was like, all right, I went to the military. I was thinking, you know what, I'll probably make my album once I get, once I get out of the military, like after 6 years, I was like, I want to do that. That way I save some money, come back from deployment. And I did like a talent show when I was overseas. I ended up winning that. So then it pushed me into like, you know what? Why don't you just start making your album now? So once I got back from deployment, I started making songs, bro. And that's kind of what led me to where I'm at musically. But I always freestyle, always had that. People could always say, hey, want to hear Monday rap? I was like a coin machine. They're like, they could just stick a coin in and I would just freestyle for anybody, But now it's more about writing, putting together actual songs, hooks, and making sure that they line up with God, what God wants. Right. Before I would be writing what Josh Monday wants, saying how good Josh Monday was. Now I'm talking about how good God is, and trying to glorify Him. Or if I do a conspiracy rap, I try to at least connect it to prophecy if I can, as much as I can.
That's beautiful, man. And you going into the military when you had a chance to join Death Row Records, and who knows what that would have taken you down. It's two very different ideas, and then you go from there into Christian rap. And like you said, you could have been rapping about the flesh things that are rapped about, or you could be rapping about God. And when we serve God, when we do things for God, and when we say the term God, it's not always like a lot of people, they think Christian rap may be talking about a man in the sky when we say glorify God, but it's really just to highlight all the positive and loving things in life. That's glorifying God, family, and relationships and positivity, success in ways that are wholesome, I'll say, rather than like, look at how pretty my girlfriend is. Look at all the money that I have. Look at my car.
Oh, it's like Ecclesiastes, bro. If you read Ecclesiastes, you'll see that Solomon was the richest person. He had thousands of women, right? Everything. And he was saying all that is it's all like a waste of time. I don't know what he used, what term he used. It's all worthless, or it's all a waste of time. I can't remember which one he was using, but he would talk and explain what he's done, and he would say that's all worthless. Really, the most important thing is the true joy that you're going to get is obviously from God. That's it. I've chased the drugs, chased the women, the alcohol. I've chased the fame, all that stuff. And I've been on stage where I'm rapping. I got all these women looking at me like, oh, wanting me, which is whatever, but the way I feel right now, I'm so content. God has blessed me with a home after the military. He blessed me with discipline so that I could not be tempted by drugs. And I use, working out to try to stop me from, doing sin. So what it is like, I wake up in the morning at 4:30, make sure that I work out. And then my body wants to sleep, but my spirit's like, let's go, get up, work out. So I use that everything I learned from the military is beautiful. I mean, the whole principle of the military is to strip you down and then to teach you discipline. If you use the military the right way, you know, I don't believe in killing other people though. I'm glad I never had to do that. And I was torn between that when I became a Christian. I didn't really want to go and kill somebody else. Especially for oil or for what's, you know, me and you know what's up with what we're really at war for and who's in control. So I was really torn between that. But if you use the military the right way, and you let it build you up, and you learn the discipline, and you put it to your Christian walk. Oh, dude, it really helps, dude. 100% helps.
And sports can do that as well for somebody, but
for sure,
when somebody is grown into their psyche is broken already, and then they join the military or they join something that's really strict that breaks them even further, then what happens is you have psychotic people that end up doing such horrible things. And you know, not that the military is producing this or sports are producing this, but the types of like, you were in a good place and you knew the moral difference, and you didn't want to have to be put in a position to kill somebody. So someone who's like wanting to kill somebody, that's because there's something wrong there.
Yeah,
you know?
of course. Yeah.
So the military needs to study that a little bit more. Yeah. And not just them, but you know, everybody in the world, we need to look at that more so we can all heal ourselves mentally.
Yeah, that's why the suicide rate ends up so high, the PTSD. I'm glad I joined the military later in life. I was 28 when I joined. So I kind of I got to go through my party streak. I ended up getting with my wife. And then I was like, you know, and I started getting into God. When I was away from my wife, you know, it gives you time to reflect. When you go on ruck marches, bro, you go for 12 miles, dude, you're walking, right? You're going through like the most treacherous, you know, situation that you've been in probably like in your life. You know, you're walking like, you know, 12 miles, you got you know, you've got a rucksack on your back, you're walking, you have so much time to reflect, you know. Who do you start thinking about? You think about your wife, and then you start kind of going, you know what? This is so beautiful. Nature, God created this. You start thinking about God, you know? So that's kind of what happened with me. I know other people are different. You know, the other people don't take it in the military the right way. They like you were talking about, man, they take it the wrong way. They want to go kill. They start taking steroids. Their brain starts turning into aggression. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a great thing, you know, for me. It really helped me. And I'm glad I'm amazing. Out now.
That's amazing that that was able to bring you to God like that. You know, yes. I've never heard someone describe it that way, but when you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And then my wife was a really big force in that. I mean, I've had times where I messed up, dude. Like I went on let me see. So I went on, let me see, what is it? Like I went to school, and like, you know, I've messed up, dude. Like, you know, when during the time of the last 8 years, you know, I've had times where I had ups and downs, but at this very point right now, I have kids. You know, I got 2 kids now. I have a house, you know, I got the grass in the front yard, whatever, but it's all glory to God, dude. Like if I never joined the military, never got all that discipline, and never learned all those lessons and trials and tribulations that I went through, all my partying stage, my fighting, you know, all that stuff that I went through, then I would never be the person I am today, you know? So God is like a potter, you know, it's like, he's trying to mold you and shape you. And sometimes, dude, you're going to have rough edges, you know, like I had a lot of rough edges, and I know you have too, bro. Like I could tell we've talked about it on the last show. And I had rough edges for the longest, but right now God has kind of, you know, got me on the pottery, and he's just like, all right, this is a little smoother now, a little easier. You're not just flying off the thing, you know? So
yeah, it's definitely we're being all the nastiness is being shaved off of us, and it's not even that it's something being taken from us, but it's like we're trying to give it away, and we're being helped by showing us like in real time our mistakes. Like, you're making this mistake, you got to change it in order to, you know, be better. And that's how I really look at everything when I'm just going through life. I'm like, every time someone has a negative interaction with me, I'm like, well, what did I do in my life that caused that to end up coming back to me in whatever way, you know? That, and a lot of people call it karma or cause and effect. You know, it's sowing, reaping as you sow. You know, these are all the things that we have in front of us today we can reflect on in the Bible. And I really like how you really keep everything real close to the Bible. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your show, my audience, a little bit about your show and what you do on there?
Oh, well, my whole intention was, well, my song, the Signs of Things to Come song, which is a conspiracy / Christian song. What happened is I sent that to as many people as I could. I was like, that's the only way you could promote is just by sending it to Instagram and then people listen. So Dangerous World Podcast heard that song and then they're like, do you want to be on our show? And I was like, oh, I've never done a podcast before, but dude, I did sales for like the longest. I was like, I'm sure I could talk. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I jumped on their show. So that song right there is what got me into podcasting. And what I recognized was that I would listen to Dangerous World, the Tinfoil Hat, and all these podcasts, and even Joe Rogan, and I felt like I was kind of compromising my Christianity by listening to some of them because they don't go to the Bible. I heard even on Joe Rogan, I heard Eddie Bravo bring up the Bible, and Joe Rogan just smacked it down, and I'm like, well, I'm not really listening to anything Christian at all. This is all conspiracy, you know. So I want to start a show where I don't, people, when they listen to my show, hopefully they don't feel convicted like I was feeling listening to those shows. Now, nothing against Sam Tripoli. I love him. I even got on his one of his podcasts, the Zero podcast. And bro, he's such a great person and a down-to-earth guy. And he's searching right now for that spiritual awakening.
Yeah, I was on Zero. I tried bringing Jesus to him before too.
Yeah, and I hope in Jesus' name, I pray that Sam finds that because he actually has a great heart and he would be a great Christian warrior.
Sam's a great guy, yeah.
But so that's what I did. I just thought, I need to try to bring the Bible and try to compare it to conspiracies. And I always try to start out with Bible verses and hopefully they go with the conspiracy. As we know, all these conspiracies, dude, they all, at least I could compare it because the devil is involved in all of this. You know what I mean? He's the one he's an archangel, right? So he's able to think 10 steps ahead of us humans. So it's easy for me to at least compare it that way. There's been some really interesting episodes we've had, man. Like I know you were talking about what realm we live in. Like I was noticing like flat earth, like that was a pretty good episode. And I did 2 of them on that. And I was like, can I compare this to the Bible? And then I started studying. There's some pretty good stuff that could tell you that we're not spinning around the sun. So stuff like that, not necessarily I could say that the Bible says that the earth is flat, but I could tell you that it contradicts what scientists are saying. Mm-hmm. We've just had a lot of good stuff, man. We got 35 episodes and I always just try to expose the evil as much as I can and hopefully try to bring it back to God. As much as I can,
Yeah.
Probably similar to what you do, bro. It seems I think similar to your show.
Yeah, it really, but you guys are you're doing episodes on operations that nobody else is really touching on. I mean, you did a couple, I forget what they were called, but the 2 of them where the guy.
Operation Pogo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Zeitgeist or what?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was different. Yeah, that's my friend Kevin is I love that guy, man. You should probably get him on your show. I'll ask him if he'll jump on your show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He has all this. Basically, what I try to do is with the guest, I asked them like, hey, what are you a subject matter expert on? Or what do you want to go into? I don't want to just pick the subject and then just get some random dude on, I want to find out what they're a subject matter expert in and what they feel so comfortable talking about. And then I'll study it as much as I can. And then I have a bunch of notes sitting there. And then my guest, if I hand him the ball and then he just starts crushing it, then I have all my notes. And I don't need to go so much into all my notes. I let him do his thing, but yeah. I make sure I got some crushing notes ready to go. That's how I do it. I make sure that I don't want to be like with blank and then he's not crushing it. And then I don't know about what he's talking about.
Well, that's what I like about you guys is you and Jason both do research into it. You bring a guest on sometimes you don't, but you guys all really hit it. You have bullet points that you get through and it's really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's
that's great.
Yeah. And what you were saying about listening to the conspiracy podcast, I've also experienced by listening to the spiritual podcast. I was into a lot of conspiracy, a lot of spiritual stuff, and I really had to turn away from it because it was it was just this feeling in me that I didn't like it. It wasn't resonating as true with me anymore. And I'm like, I got to kind of put that down And then I was like, well, you know what? With my podcast, I really I want my podcast to be my favorite podcast. You know, the stuff that I want to hear, that's what I want to make. So I'm really getting into uncovering the truth and all of it. And what I've really been getting into lately is I've had a lot of followers of Jesus Christ on lately. You know, it's really coming down to that, and the Tartaria stuff is like my two favorite topics to discuss and talk about. And there's so much that goes with that: the fallen angels, the Nephilim, you know, demons, and there's just so much that really goes into it. Like I had this woman on the other day. We were talking about this is possibly the rapture has occurred hundreds of years ago when the mud flood occurred, and the millennial kingdom of Christ has already occurred. The 1,000-year reign could have occurred already. Well, this would be the final judgment coming up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the Byzantine Empire?
Okay. I'm going to tell you, dude, Tartaria. I've been having so many people tell me, listen, you got to study it. Well, I'm having Rising from the Ashes. I think that's the name of their podcast. I was actually on their show. They were cool. They're not Christian. So they had me and my brother on, and they told me to do like a Jesuit timeline on there. I was like, cool, I'll do it. But we got into like religion, and it's all good. You know, I respect, like I was in the army. I respect anybody has freedom of religion. If you want to worship Satan, that's up to you. If you want to worship, Set or Seth or whatever you want to worship, go ahead. But it's all good. Other people, I just would like to at least shine light on it, and hopefully they can come to Christ. But I can only lead them to water. It's up to them to drink, you know. Right, but they're cool. I like that podcast. They were nice, man, and they want to come on and do the Tartaria thing November 19th. If you are into that as well, dude, I'll have you jump on as well, dude. If you're down, if you're okay with that.
Yeah. And so what I'm finding out about Tartaria is that there were actually Tartaria is one part of it, and in the Bible, Tartaria would be Tartarus, which is hell. Yes. And I had a guest on, Michelle Gibson, and she talks about Lemuria being the Americas, the Moorish people, the Moors, and maybe that's where we get the Mormons, or like to cover up the Moors. It's all very interesting, but it could be that the Millennial Kingdom and the Tartaria thing happened right around the same time, and that the Tartaria was actually just a mimic of the Millennial Kingdom of Christ. Because there was like 4 different Christian empires that reigned for exactly 1,000 years in our known history, but our known history says that they were at different times. But I think the timeline has just been altered, and it's all been at once.
I think it'll be cool to have you on to come with the Christian perspective. You know, I think it would be good because those guys are going to come with the worldly perspective, which I love. You know, let's go. We'll bring the Christian perspective. They can come with the worldly perspective, and we could just tie it into a knot. You know,
I'm all for it.
That would be cool. Yeah, let's do it, man. I like that.
Let's do for sure. So back to everything that's been going on with you. So how did you come to Christ? Was it just the thinking about the military, or were you a Christian your whole life?
Like I said, my dad always he bought us a Bible. He told us not to celebrate Christmas. He was telling us all this stuff back in the day. We were just, like I said, me and my brother were both we were partying, getting women, all that stuff. Really what brought me back to Christ was my wife. My wife told me, listen, we're going to go to Calvary Chapel in Diamond Bar, which is Pastor Raul Reese, which is somebody my dad recommended to me. He was like, hey, he's going to be great, man. Go to him. I used to go to him in West Covina. So we ended up going there, and I just put it on the altar, bro. I was going through like drug abuse and stuff like that at before I joined the military. I needed to lay all that stuff, the porn, all that stuff on the altar, bro. Like, you just got to just lay it on the altar. Let's get right with my wife and all that stuff. So she's the one that actually, I give her credit, man. She brought me to the church, and then God just said to lay it all on the altar, cry, just get on my knees and just say, I'm sorry, Lord. Like, geez, I've been so selfish, not realizing that he created us. He's been so patient with us. We're saved by grace through faith, not by works, so no man shall boast, and all this stuff. I'm just started learning and looking into the Bible. Me and my wife were reading the Bible every night, trying to do our devotions, and stay good. At the time I was still I would drink sometimes. I would still do that, but I just learned that like drinking is it just because it's legal doesn't mean it's okay. Smoking weed, any of that stuff, dude. When I joined the army, I couldn't smoke weed anyway. I was done with all that. But the drinking, I just slowly just broke away from all that. And I used to think, dude, back in the day that I'd have to smoke weed to be able to rap good, or I'd have to do some sort of drug to be able to rap good. And I just learned that it's not even about that. Like, get in touch with God, your spiritual side, and he's going to guide you and lead you. And then that's what I did. I started listening to pastors preach, and then I would write my raps to it. And then, so the Holy Spirit's like talking to me as I'm writing, but yeah, dude, it's interesting. It's fun stuff.
Yeah. So have you ever, so I wanted to ask you about your working out, because you said that keeps you away from sin. And, when I was working out at one time last year, I was working out like a maniac. I lost over 100 pounds.
Wow.
I became really fit last year, and I could run miles while, having dumbbells in my hands. And like, I was doing all sorts of crazy shit.
That's awesome.
Yes. So for me, now that I haven't been able to with my job, it's really wearing me down between the podcast and the job. I don't have the time to work out. So I haven't been eating as healthy. And then sometimes I can realize that it's having a negative effect on my brain and my thoughts. I'm having to drink more coffee, which is having an effect on me. So I wish I could work out more. So what does the working out do for you? And when did you start working out in your life?
So I went on deployment in 2016. That's when, I was always like running just to be able to pass the PT test in the army, but I wasn't like hitting the like weight. So 2016 is when I started working out, like hitting, like just working out, telling my wife when I get back from deployment, this is just going to be my life now. I'm going to be.
So this is after
no
you gave yourself to Christ already? Or
yeah. Yes. And what I'm talking about is, I'm not just talking about the lifting of weights. I'm talking about the diet, which you obviously have gone through. So if you could stop yourself from eating something, or you can, you're craving carbs, or you're craving candy, or you're doing something like that, and you can stop yourself, it's a lot easier to stop yourself when you get these little things in your brain to like, hey, look at that girl, or look at this porn, or look at this butt on Instagram, or look at this, look at that. It helps you, because your flesh is knowing that, you got to show your flesh who's in charge or who's boss. Does it work for me all the time? No, I'm a human. I'm not like, I'm just telling you, it just helps me. That's all we could do. Is we can't be sinless, but we could just sin less. And I think it helps me do that. So if you catch me on the podcast in like 4 years, and I got this big old like thing underneath my chin, and I'm like kind of like looking pretty huge, then I'm probably backsliding in my walk with God. So you can just tell me, bro, you're backsliding, aren't you? I'll be like, yes, I'm sorry. You'll know, because I use that, man. Every single morning, I just get up, I work out like at least 4 or 5 times a week, mostly 5 times a week, sometimes 6. I do that, and I try to eat as best as I can. I work 10 hours a day. I have the podcast going. I'm the same as you right now, dude. And I have 2 kids and 1 on the way. So I have a lot going on too. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I have a 1-year-old and then a 2.5-year-old. And then I have another one coming. So I don't know. I think I'm going to have to record like 40 episodes before the baby comes.
That's a workout all by itself.
You're building your own Christian empire over there.
Yeah, and then I got I know, right? We're gonna have some. She wants to do a dinosaur podcast. That's what my daughter keeps telling me. Dad, I can do a dinosaur podcast. It's so cool, but yeah, and I've always been someone that's like high speed. Like I could just multitask. That's what I'm kind of trying to do. I'm juggling right now, but I always make sure that I get up in the morning. I always upload the podcast like late at night or whatever I got to do, man, to get it going. There's people that are actually just like you're doing. People will probably hit you up too and go, dude, ask you questions about God. And I fell away from God. I need help, or I need, whatever, man. And if anybody needs prayer or anything, dude, you guys can definitely ask me or ask Todd, we'll pray for you and we'll help you. Anybody that's listening. That's what we're here for. It's not about just like, oh, let me just tell you about Operation Cyclone and all this conspiracy. The main thing is what's on your chest is bringing you to Jesus, bringing you to God, Father God, and
Jesus saves.
Yes, exactly. That's our main goal. So
Exactly. So I love when people hit me up and they're telling me, coming to me for some guidance. I'm like, yo, this is what I'm doing this for, So when people
yes,
hit me up, I put a bunch of people on my intro, and I have another intro coming out that it'll be for this episode and a couple before, but it hasn't been out yet. But it is people, more people talk or just like saying things, and
yes,
I had this amazing encounter with this woman the other day, and I was able to help her. And unprovoked, she sends me this beautiful email the other day, and I was just like, it really warms my heart to be able to help somebody that needs
anything.
it. Yeah, just
Yeah,
give them what they
anything,
need.
right? Just anything. Even if you're moving like an inchworm, it doesn't matter, or if you're moving a mile. I mean, you just anything you could do. Like all we're doing is just chucking away, like the devil's just like, he's probably so mad, dude. Like when we're jumping on these potties, he's probably so mad. Like, dude, I remember when I had you. I remember when I had you in that hotel.
I had other people,
Or I remember when I had you doing this, like, come back. Like, but we're not going to be like a dog going back to our own vomit. We're not doing that. So, yeah, it's amazing, dude. God is great. And it's cool that God even, and then another thing though, bro, me and you are on this microphone. We're praising God. And, in the Bible, it says that, like, if you're a pastor or if you're one of his teachers, you're going to get judged more, right? We're going to get judged 7 times more than the normal person. Cause we never went to get an education and went to school for this, but we're representing God on the microphone. And when I'm rapping, I'm realizing like, hey, I'm on the airwaves recording and talking about God and representing God. So now you're in a different ball game. We got to make sure that we aren't backsliding and just out there cussing up a storm. And all these people are looking at us like, dang, this person is just, he's just rotten. And then all of a sudden I'm on the show like, oh guys, you guys shouldn't cuss. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that. We got to check yourself. I got to check myself like crazy. Like, hey, if my wife yells at me or if I, about to yell at my wife, I have to think in my head like, hey, you better practice what you preach, dude. Being a hypocrite is not good either. So I don't want to be like the Pharisees. So it's tough, dude. It's tough, but we're held to a different standard.
Yeah, and what you're saying there is you listen to your conscience. And when we're living in the flesh, we don't. We think that we know the answers. But as soon as we become the observer in our life and we take a second and realize what we're doing and the effect that we're about to create on our universe, is we listen to our conscience. And that's how God really speaks to me. Jesus really speaks to me, comes through me when I walk past a piece of trash and I have to go pick it up. There's no like, oh, I didn't see that, because I'm sitting there, I'm telling myself, I seen that. I just have to do it that way.
It is. And that's funny. Like, and it's the same thing. Like, if you're at work and like, like your time cards, your taxes, there's a lot of things that before you just wouldn't even think about it, dude. But the trash thing is definitely true. I think I dropped a plastic bottle on the floor and it just eats away at me. Like I gotta get this, it's the same thing, man. I got to pick it up. And that's just something that's minor, but that's something that just shows God like, hey, you're being obedient for the small things. Now I can give you more things. It says it in the Bible, if you can handle the small things like that, I'll give you the greater things. So it's very awesome, man, and interesting. And I love how it's going so far. God has given us, good platforms, man. So it's awesome.
Yeah, seriously. And in that same token is looking at women. There was a time in my life where I was a single man and I'm working out in the gym and I'm there with beautiful women. We're all in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Everyone that goes is pretty good looking that would go early in the morning, when I would be there. So I'm doing it and, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing it for me to look good. And I'm also, seeing there's beautiful people all around, and not just at the gym, but all the time. And then I got to a point where I'm like, man, I need to do better than that. So I gave up. I went 105 days with complete celibacy. And it made me realize just how important it is to not invest your time and energy into that type of behavior, because
Yeah.
there's at what limit do you not look at someone? You don't know how old they are when they're from the back.
Yeah.
So especially someone who, I was a coach of young ladies. I was like, no, I can't be doing that, because there's you never know what you're actually looking at. So
Yeah.
for me, I had to clear my conscience by not participating in observing the female body in the same way that I once used to, when
Yes.
it didn't matter to me.
For sure. And what I did is I just, when I got my house, I put everything I needed in my garage. I told my wife, hey, if I'm going to work out in the garage, I need everything that I need. I don't have like a whole bunch of machines in there, but I don't feel like I need that anyways. Everything that I need for my 5 or 6 days is in there. So I work out in my garage, which is a blessing, thank God for that. But I understand what you mean, bro. Like, it's very hard, man. When you're at the gym, that's a very tough thing, man. It's a good thing for you to observe that and notice that. And especially if you're coaching young girls, like I have 2 daughters now. So now I look at women differently. Dude, I've been like, when I was in that death row situation, that person tried to hit on me. Like that's the same way that women feel when people just go up to them at the gym and just be like, hey, when they're there to work out. It's like, dude, like I hate when I'm looking at my phone when I'm working out, because what it's doing is just taking my mind off of what I'm doing. So when people are coming up to those women in the gym, can you imagine how they feel? Like once you start, like I've had older women look at me and be like, hey, you start feeling like, once you start feeling like how they feel, you understand like, dang, I better stop eyeballing these people. You're making them feel like, so offensive and like pieces of meat, and when it happens to you, then you understand like, oh man, this is how they feel, once you're married and everything, you're like, oh, this is how they feel. This is disgusting.
So it's a fact that people can feel when they're being watched or stared at over long distances. People can, and this was even a military thing I heard the other day, that snipers were told never to look at their targets in the eye, because then, or in the face, because then they would be able to feel that something was wrong and someone was watching them.
So they just have an intuition after they do that. So yeah, that's interesting, man.
It's like this telepathy that we all have. You
can definitely feel it when someone's staring at you, for sure, because people just you end up looking at them and then they just look away or whatever. But yeah, for sure, bro.
Yeah, and you can really live with a clear conscience when you're not looking at, and the way to stop looking at people in your everyday life is, like you said, to stop with the porn, stop with the Instagram models type of stuff.
Yeah, there's steps. There's steps, bro. Like
definitely.
one step would be you picking your phone up. The next step is logging on Instagram. The next step is searching, right? Whatever you're trying to look at. Or if it pops up on your newsfeed, just unfollow that person. But that's another step. Another step is Googling whatever porn you're trying to look at. And then now you're actually involved in the act of totally fornicating, by looking at the porn and doing stuff to it. So there's different steps. So there's got to be a point where your Christian side takes over in between those 5 or 6 steps and just says, hey, this is not what you need to do. The Holy Spirit's convicting you, and then you just stop, So that's what I was trying to tell someone when I was on their show. I don't want to put them on blast either, but I was telling them there's different steps to this, bro. There's like 6 or 7 steps. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that now. So yeah, it was pretty funny, man.
Yeah, and we're not putting judgment on anybody out there who watches porn or anything.
No.
But
guys, seriously.
Yeah, because we were both there, and
exactly,
it is a process. But once you stop doing those types of things, it becomes easier. Once you get to a certain point, it's no longer a part of your life, because, like you said, that your spirit makes your flesh get up and exercise because you need to. Our spirit is our masculine side, and our flesh is our feminine side. And our spirit, the male, has the ability to make the female obey it. That's how it's talked about in the Bible, but it's not talked about for yourself in that way, where people could understand that the spirit is the male and the body is the female. So when you can get the female under control of yourself, and this goes for men and women or whatever, when you can start to do that, then you can see that it really is not that difficult once you get to a certain point, and it makes you feel better. Like your conscience is clear. There's nothing better than going to bed with a clear conscience every day, and I get the best sleep of my life. And that's ever since Jesus Christ came into my life, which happened in January and has just been unfolding more and more every single day.
Amazing, man. Yeah, God is so great, man. And then you'll have a way better relationship with your wife. Can you imagine, bro? Like you'll crush your wife, man. If you know, whoever's married out there, you could crush your wife, because your wife is supposed to be like your number one, dude. Like you're supposed to be cherishing her, loving her, nobody above her, right? You're supposed to be, you're one with her. And then you're sitting there watching porn or something, like, and you're lusting after somebody else. That's Jesus tells you, man, even thinking about it, you're doing it. So we're not getting down on anybody though, okay, guys. This is definitely not a judge thing, because I've just been there, done that, and and I've been disgustingly dirty. I'll just say it, you know. I've been the filthy rags that God talks about, you know, and thank God we're saved by grace, because if not, I'd probably be done for, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I can speak for Mimi here when I say she has no worries at all about me cheating on her ever. You know, that's never a possibility that pops into her mind, because I never have given her that thought that was a possibility for me to do. You know, that's just something that isn't going to happen. So that's the most important thing, is being truthful, like you were saying earlier. You know, just being your true God self, the person that God wants you to be. If you can tap into that and become that, then nobody in your life has any worry about you doing the wrong thing, and then that lightens the load on them. That they no longer have this burden of negative thought that what's going to happen is my boyfriend is going to cheat on me, my husband is my father going to not come home because he's out drinking, doing drugs, whatever. Like these little thoughts that add up to us and really break our psyche. When we can be like Christ in the best possible way that we can, then we
you're gonna still sin.
Burden.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you're still gonna do. You know, it's just, and there's no sin that I don't have a measure scale where there's just like, oh, this sin's worse than the other sin. Like, I mean, we're still gonna sin, and we're gonna do our best. That's all we could do, you know, for sure. But God, I know in heaven there's no sin, so He needs to get you ready for heaven. That's what we're going through. That's why we're going through trials and tribulations, because there's no sin in heaven. So He's trying to get us to be the best person that we could be. And when things happen, we can't just be like, oh, that's all God's fault. God's just trying to, like I said, He's trying to, we're the potter, you know, he's the potter. I'm sorry. And we're the potter. He's just trying to mold us into what we need to be, you know? So it's a blessing.
So you mentioned there that He's readying us for heaven. Where do you think we're at with all these craziness going on with the current events of today? You know, we have our vice president and president both sitting at sets of the White House instead of actually at the White House. You have the North America surrounded with cargo ships at the moment where they're not docking, and we're being told that it's going to stay that way until everybody's vaccinated. You know, the U.S. Department of Treasury Secretary is saying that. You know, that's a craziness right now, and we obviously know that Satan's in charge. But what is your take on what's going on? Is this the final tribulation right here, or the final judgment?
Well, I know that the birth pains are going to get, you know, like as the end times come, the birth is going to, you know, like the pain is going to get, you know, it's going to get worse, and it's going to happen more often, you know. So as we see, it's happening right now, but I can't tell you, man, like there's a lot of stuff that needs to come forth, you know, like once we see Israel surrounded, you know, or Jerusalem surrounded, and you know, north, south, east, and they're about to get, you know, it's about to happen. I think that's when we know that you know, that 7 years going to start, you know, the 7-year tribulation. So I feel like we're here, end times are here. I don't think that it's going to get, I think God wins in the end, so we don't have to worry about it. You know, I just know that I was willing to die for this country, you know, and I'm willing to die for the Lord. So I'm just going to keep praying, and the cargo ship thing, and what I try not to do, like Jesus says, man, like stressing doesn't add a second to your life. You know, life is but a myth. So don't stress on it. keep praying to God. And I'm not scared if we have to get down. Like if China's in those cargo ships and they're ready to come into America, dude, there's a weapon behind every blade of grass out here. So if it's supposed to be that, I don't want to kill anybody, and I don't want to kill any Chinese people, or I don't want to kill anybody. But if they're on my doorstep, then it's different. In Exodus.
Do you think that North America could possibly be Israel? We're told Israel's in the Middle East. Do you think this could be Israel, and us being surrounded with the Canadian? All the stories of last year, the Canadian Prime Minister allowing the Chinese in there.
I don't think America's Israel. Definitely not. I think America is dirty, disgusting, and we're all, dude. I mean, that's why that a lot of the religious countries hate us, hate our guts. Look at we're like Sodom and Gomorrah, bro. We're not Israel. We're not holy in any way, dude. And the people that feel like they're holy, even me, I might feel like, hey, I'm pretty holy. I'm not. All we are is just filthy rags, bro. So I don't believe we're Israel. Definitely not Israel. I think we're more like Babylon, dude. We're mystery Babylon. Look at what our president and everybody, they worship. They don't worship God. And when they sit there and say God and God we trust, or hold the Bible up, dude, they're not worshiping God, bro. If you look really deep into it, really study, guys, if you guys feel like we're Israel. No way. We're not God's holy people. Now, is there a lot of Christians in America? Yes. But I don't believe in any way we're Israel. I believe America's mystery Babylon. That's my opinion. I don't trust our government. I don't trust them. I already worked for them already for 6 years. I did my time, but I'm starting to uncover stuff with this podcast where I just see how disgusting everything is right now. And it's very hard for me because I was going to put my life on the line for this country, but the people, the American people, I love the American people, but the people that are pulling strings above the president, above, all these people that we're studying, I don't love them at all. But they are my enemy. I pray for them and I hope that they get guidance. I hope they all do become followers of Christ, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, dude. They're worshiping something else than we are.
So what's your take on Trump? Because there's a lot of Christians who are saying that he is working for God. I myself think that he is a part of the deception in a very big way. What's your take on that?
Yes. Okay. So I was feeling comfortable with Trump at one time. I was like, you know what? I'm comfortable with him being president. Now, now his mentor, Roy Cohen, he had a pedophile ring, back in the day, and he had it at a particular hotel, and Donald Trump went and bought that hotel, went belly up with that hotel, but he wanted that hotel. His mentor, Roy Cohen, is a little pedophile boy, likes little boys, right? Donald Trump, he was for the military, so in that aspect, hey, that's cool. But he brought Operation Warp Speed. He brought the vaccine. He is a full supporter of the vaccine. He's just a different part of the deep state that they want to call. He is not a Christian, in my opinion, by any means, bro. He's pushing the vaccine. He said he got vaccinated. Everyone should get vaccinated. He's kind of getting booed for that. I think we were definitely deceived by this gentleman. He rubs shoulders with all the billionaires. He's a businessman, and this is the United Corporation of America. So he was great at running this corporation. Joe Biden, I pray for him. I feel bad for him because I think he does have a little bit of mental dementia, like, some stuff going on with him right now. And I don't like to make fun of people that are like that. So I feel bad for him. I've been on stage before where I have to remember rap words and I'm like, oh, I got to remember this. And it's a tough thing. It's very, is that horns or what? Sorry.
That's my cat's tail. Sorry. Yeah, she's just stretching in front of the computer screen.
Owning the desk right now.
That's so funny. It's all good. It's all good. So I'll have a cat too. But anyways, I don't feel like Donald Trump is the same as I thought maybe like in 2017. I just started learning all this stuff, especially when I got into the podcasting and conspiracies and just digging deep. I 100% don't believe that he's for the Christian people. People are deceived. And they're looking for a savior, but they're looking in the wrong place. Like God is the only savior that we have. And Donald Trump is not a savior. Okay. In that way.
Right.
I think he's done some real dirty, disgusting things, and I believe he's still. He brought the vaccine, bro, and that's my enemy right now. The vaccine. Right. I feel like it's the way he basically took a softball and he tossed it to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's trying to knock it out the park, dude. And that's what I believe, man.
I agree with that. And all the shortages, they started because of us being locked down by him last year. So, it just took this long to take effect, but he was part of the plan, I believe. Maybe he wasn't well liked in the way that he did things by them, but he's definitely not on our team, whether he's on their team or maybe a separate team, but still different than us, the American, not just the American people, but the people of Earth, God's people. There's a separate entity that he is working with.
Yes, and he's on the same exact team. You know what I mean? Like, as I think he's on the same team as them. Like, there's left wing, right wing. It's all the same bird. When you study this stuff, you look into it and you find out who's really, running things. I don't even, dude, it's very hard, man. Like, I think my brother was saying on the podcast, like, it's hard to even know up from down and stuff when you start getting really deep into this stuff, and you're not going to believe any politician or anybody that's a billionaire,
So do you think that it's going to be anyone's going to actually be arrested for all these crimes that we see, obvious crimes that we're seeing committed, or is there going to be a supernatural ending? God is going to somehow do something, or what's your take?
Well, as we know, Satan is running the world, right? Basically, right now he's holding the grant deed to the earth, so he's letting all these people run amok and do their thing. I don't believe they're going to get arrested. I mean, I know that QAnon and all the pedophiles, all these people, come on, guys, are you serious? Like, with the people that are actually running the world, they control the people that would be arresting them. All the FBI, the CIA. Do you really think they're going to go and arrest them? No, dude. Like, come on, dude. It ain't going to happen. I believe that everything is happening for a reason. I think Trump will probably get back into office, maybe. But it's just ordered out of chaos, dude. That's all you see. Donald Trump is coming out, and all us conspiracy theorists, we do not like the media. We think it's fake news. So he knows exactly what bullet points to use to draw us in. We're like, yeah, the news is fake. That's right. So he talks a big game, and a lot of people love him. But I do believe some people are waking up to that. I hope. They think that Joe Biden coming in, it's just going to be like a flip, like, oh, the whole world's going to end now. They're the same, dude. They're the same. All they're doing is making these little tiny inchworm moves to make it more liberal, and then Donald Trump will come back in, and I think that's going to be when I think he'll start doing some stuff in Israel, and I believe that's when I think that's when stuff is really going to start happening, bro. I think
2024.
I think when Donald Trump gets back in, I think that Jared Kushner is going to go over there, and he's going to probably build the third temple, and I think that everything's going to start moving a little faster as far as the birth pains.
Well, it's interesting, Jared Kushner, his 666 building on Fifth Avenue in New York, it had to be sold recently to some company. So that's weird. That
$4 billion is what they purchased that for. Okay. And Jared Kushner bought that building at 666. Yeah. And you guys got to understand, Israel, the people of Israel were actually feeling like Jared Kushner could be like the Messiah, because he was trying to push to get the third temple. They started making peace in Israel, started with, United Arab Nations and all this stuff. So it almost looked like Jared Kushner was going to be like the Messiah. And I'm not going to say that Donald Trump was like the Antichrist, because he has to be more better salesman than this. He's got to be like so good, that just so smooth, and just almost like making everybody love him, bringing peace to the world, where everybody and then all of a sudden, after the 3.5 years, he's going to just show his true colors, and he's going to show Israel what he's really about, tell them to bow down, worship him, and then we're going to have just chaos. But right now I think we're almost at an hour. I think at 6, I got to roll off, because I got to take care of these babies and feed them.
All right. Yeah, no problem. So is there any last piece of information you want to leave our audience with? What's one thing that you could tell somebody that would never hear from you again, about what's the importance of getting with Jesus Christ rather than just being a good spiritual person. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is we're saved by faith. We're saved by grace through faith, not by works, so that no man shall boast. So you need to have faith in Jesus Christ. Like, like you can't come through God. You got to use Jesus as the bridge, right? So you got to be like, I always say, like, Father God, in the name of Jesus. And that's how I start my prayer, because he's the bridge between man and God, right? So it's not about being nice or about works. If you look at all these secret societies, even like the Freemasons, they talk about works. They do all these different things that they think it's about works, but you're saved by grace through faith, not by works, so that no man shall boast. Because what happens to man is they just think that all these works that they're doing, they want to get the glory, but it's all about God getting the glory. So you need to make sure that Jesus is a part of your spiritual walk. If not, I hate to break it to you guys, but you're not going to be able to enter into heaven. And you don't want to be lukewarm where Jesus is like, I never knew you. You don't want that either, dude. So make sure if you're Christian,
is it only that top layer of heaven that you can't get to without Jesus Christ? Can you get to the one of the other two layers?
You're talking about because there's 3 heavens?
Yeah.
Well, the third I believe the first heaven would be the sky. The second heaven would be space, like, I don't want to say space, but where the sun, the moon, and the stars are. And the third heaven is where God's throne is. That's what I believe. Okay. I don't know what you're referring to. Maybe you have a different perception of it, but that's what I think it is. But I think that you got to have Jesus, man, no matter what. That's the only way you're going to make it to heaven, dude. And when you die, look at the story of Lazarus. Okay. The rich man, and then Lazarus is the one that ends up, he's like poor on the floor. She's throwing his meat to him or whatever. He dies and immediately gets taken to, the rich man immediately gets taken to, not Abraham's bosom, but to, what is it called? It starts with the S. I'm sorry. Sheol. He's immediately taken there. And then the other gentleman, the poor Lazarus, is on the other side, and he has all 5 senses in hell. And he's asking him, can you please take a drip of water and put it on my tongue, is what he's asking brother Abraham. So, you have all 5 senses in hell. Okay. So, and you're going to immediately get taken to either heaven or hell. And when people have near-death experiences, you see how they feel like they got angels coming to get them and taking them to either one place. So you got to get correct. Tomorrow, don't try to wait like, hey, well, next week or 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go to Jesus, but now I'm going to keep on sinning and sinning and sinning, because you could just step out, drive in the car, hop on the freeway and pass away, and then you don't get your chance. So it's all about when your time ends, making it to heaven, right? I had a song called Time Flies, and that's how I ended it. It just matters where you go to heaven when your time ends. It matters if you go to heaven. That's it. So right. Just get right with God, man. It's not about being spiritual. Spiritual is cool. That's awesome. You're sitting there meditating, whatever you do, trying to do chakras and all this crazy stuff. Do whatever you do. I respect you. If you have fun doing that, cool. But start reading the Bible, start getting a relationship with God. And then I believe that for me, I like to be in a church because I have fellowship. And also my church brothers can hold me accountable, right?
That's
they
so
can tell
beautiful.
if something's wrong. That's what I believe.
That is beautiful, man. So do you want to tell the audience where they can find your stuff at?
Oh, yeah. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's at Josh Monday Music, and you could just follow me, comment or whatever, or just hit me up on my DMs if you need prayer, if you just want to say hi. If you want to find me on YouTube, it's Josh Monday Music, all one word, and podcast. That's my YouTube. And then if you want to find us on Spotify or any of the podcast distributors, just look up Josh Monday Christian and Conspiracy Podcast. And we got 35 episodes out, and it's just a whole
they're
bunch
all bangers.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and guys, with Todd's show, make sure that you comment, you like, make sure you share, and make sure that you also leave him the Apple review and the 5 stars.
That would be great.
That means a lot. guys. And if you listen to my podcast, please do the same. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll have all your links in the description. I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a great talk. And
Thank you.
Everyone who's listening, go ahead and take Josh's advice. It obviously it worked for him. It can work for you.
For sure. God bless you, brother.
God bless you as well.
Tell your girlfriend I said goodbye to. I don't remember
Have a
her
good
name.
night.
What's her name again?
Mimi.
Mimi. Okay, I was thinking Mimi. You have a blessed night, okay?
You too.
All right, you too, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
All right, bye.